Miss Gwen Lakehills. Jerry.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hi. How is everybody today?
Good.
Good. Can you all hear me?
Loud and clear.
We can. Okay, great. All right. So, do we have any announcements?
For next week, for next month.
For next month, on the third Saturday of the month, our program is going to be on propagation. I think you all have a little sheet like this on propagating and seeds and things like that. It's going to be really interesting. Okay, and today we have a water wrangler. Yay! We have Jenny Baine. She's a landscaper, and she has all of these qualifications that are on your flyer that you see. She's very well, not only that, but she's very dynamic and intelligent. So I'm turning it over to Jenny. Hey, Jenny. Thank you. There you go. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. It's good to see you in here. Did you want to start that? Cool. So I'm here to talk about rain. Like, we never get it here, right? It's like the last week was ridiculous. So there's going to be a lot of reasons why I'm going to describe why we want to capture rain, not just in drought, but also in these massive rain events like we had recently, right? And there's really benefits to both. So I'm going to talk through that. I'm going to talk through a little bit about how you do it, the different components that you need to do it, and specifically we're going to focus on rain tanks and barrels. There are things that you can do in your landscape to actually capture rain as well, just with berms and basins, and then help retain it on your property. But the focus isn't necessarily about that. I'm going to try to focus more on harvesting tanks. And if we have some time, we can go out and look at the harvesting tank that's on this building so that you can see it in person. Sometimes it helps to actually see the components after walk through them for you on the actual pieces. So when we go into the Q&A, we'll maybe have some time to do that or afterwards. Yeah. So I do have a certification that I received through the San Antonio River Authority, and Bandera's thinking about doing one here as well, but it's a program where you actually learn how to design different systems to capture stormwater runoff. And then you also learn how to build them, how to inspect them, so there's a whole process. And so I received those certifications through some studying that I did with them through a landscaper that I worked with in New Braunfels. And San Marcos. So San Marcos and Austin have a huge problem with their downtown water drainage issues, because downtown is really just starting to flood because of the urban development that's happening. As soon as you develop something in the urban environment, all of that hard surface will run the water off. So it's really hard to control that water then. So they're doing a lot of work there. I also worked through that Austin program. Austin is giving up to $10,000, $15,000 to each homeowner to actually capture rain. And if you're in a certain area where the rain drainage is a big issue right now. So they actually have, and San Antonio has some of that too. But and this was the landscaper that I worked with, ERA, Ecosystem Regeneration Artisans. So I worked with her as a project manager and designer to kind of help design these systems. So that's where most of my education came from, and then I decided to move to the Hill Country. So I'm not working for her right now, but we're still in touch and doing a lot of I'm following her right now. But hopefully soon I'll be working for her again in this area. She's actually done some projects in Medina as well. So we're going to talk about why the different techniques of installing. And then regulations, because a lot of people talk about or are concerned with, what are the regulations? Can I do this? Can I not? Or whatever. So here's multiple reasons why. So rainwater capture in your rain tanks isn't just because we want the water. There's other benefits that you're going to get from it as well. So your well water is hard water, so there's more contaminants that are possible in your well water. So as herbicides and insecticides and things like that are used on fields, sometimes if the well isn't super deep, the well can become contaminated. And there are in Texas, there's a map where you can see several wells or several locations where groundwater is contaminated and it's not able to be drank. In fact, I think there's some wells close to here that work off of not the aquifer, but one of the creeks and rivers, and that one also, there's a series of homeowners who can't use their well for drinking. So it can happen. A lot of our wells are 500 feet deep, 600 feet deep, right? It's not gonna happen necessarily there, but what happens there is sometimes you get some minerals or some hard metals that are that far down that could affect your water, and especially in our area, the calcium, right? We just have really hard water, it's hard on your pipes. So if you use rainwater for your drinking water for your home, instead of using your well water, then you don't need your water softeners anymore, because the water is almost neutral balance from the rain. It's no longer that hard water from the well. So you can save a lot of money if you build a home. You don't need all of those water softener systems and things like that. You can protect your pipes by having the neutral water going through them. So there's a cost advantage to it as well. The other thing that we can get in our well waters is we can get dissolved solids. So the solids from animal runoff and feces, those are your dissolved solids that contain bacteria and things like that in it that you definitely don't want to have. The other thing is animals prefer rainwater. So even if you're not able to put a system in for your house yet, if you have animals, even pets, dogs, cats, horses, goats, they all prefer rainwater. So if you can capture and through a very simple system of some barrels or something, and the animals will go to your rain harvested water first before they go to your well water, hands down. In fact, we have horses that one of them actually kind of refuses to drink at rodeos because she's like, I don't like this water. We go to Uvalde, we go to these abandoned Mansfield, she's like, no thanks, I'm gonna wait until we get home. And I'm like, you need hydration. So the animals totally, would prefer the harvested water, hands down. You can also use it for fire protection. So we touched a bit on this. There is a connection if you have a big tank. There is a connection that you can buy. It's like $300 or $400 specifically for that tank that the fire trucks can hook up to. It's a larger hose and it has like a brass fitting so that they can easily hook into it. And a truck can only carry, 2,000, 2,500 gallons of water. But if you have a 16,000 gallon tank or a 20,000 gallon tank, which is super easy to fill up around here, you would be surprised how quickly you can fill up a tank like that. With just a few rain events off of your home. And that is going to provide way more water than what the fire department can bring with their trucks, right? Pumper trucks were maybe 2,500 gallons. So that's like 8 times the amount of water that is available right there. So in case there's a brush fire nearby or your home even, you have an immediate source of fire protection. So that's a big thing. So cost savings, contaminants, animals, those are all a reason why it's really great to capture water off of your house. So the other reason, which a lot of us experienced this week, is when we have rain events, this is what starts to happen to our ground, right? This is typical hill country ground, right? You'll see all of that rock exposed, and that's because we have these flash floods that happen. It washes away the topsoil. It really, we have a hard time keeping that sort of going. And then we won't have a rain for 3 months, right? So what the heck's gonna grow on there? Really tough plants, right? I mean, that's the survival of the fittest right there. But if you can take your property where you have captured water off of your roof and you have a couple of 1,000 gallons, and then you're able to prevent this erosion. So if the water is eroding off of your house, it's going to erode that faster than if you capture that water and release it slowly. So what you're trying to do is grab all the water off of your house instead of letting it rush over the ground. You're capturing it in a tank, and then for the next few weeks you're releasing that slowly so that this erosion doesn't happen, right? And then you're also feeding that ground more slowly and consistently. So whatever plants are out there will get that water instead of having to survive through a drought, right? So the erosion control, you're helping it at least around that immediate area of your house. And if you live on any sort of a slope, you'll know, you can also help it in those places. Big benefit to capturing rain. So I'm going to talk a little bit about regulations because a lot of people are like, wait, are we allowed to do this? And there were actually some states where they weren't allowing you to capture rain. I don't know, like my house, there's so much more land around here than just what's off of my house, right? And you've created, by building a home or a barn or a driveway, you've created an area that cannot grab water, right? An area of the ground. So it only makes sense to put a tank on there and capture that water because you're not allowing it to soak into the ground, right? You've covered the ground. And now you're just capturing what was coming off of your house and slowly releasing it. So you're actually doing a benefit to the land. And so a lot of states now have changed that idea. They're like, oh yeah, you're right, this would probably be a good idea, especially in California where they were seeing landslides. So much urban development, you know, even in Texas, we've realized the urban development and the sprawl has like kept it so that it's caused issues by not capturing water, right? Because the water is going into those creeks so much faster, they've had to take creek beds and spend millions of dollars covering them with cement, right? Because if you don't cover it with cement, that water rushing down is rushing so much more quickly because you've gone and built 3 neighborhoods that don't soak in any water, right? So when that water hits that creek bed, it's going twice as fast as what it used to, and there's twice as much volume. And so it's just washing out the creek bed bottoms, it's washing all of that habitat away, all those animals, everything is just getting washed downstream, and that's where you have the problem downstream. Our water, like we have some water that goes into Medina, right? We have some water that goes to Canyon Lake. The rest of it goes to the Gulf of Mexico. So if it gets into the streams and rivers, it's not soaking into our ground and going to the aquifer, right? So we're doing a disservice by like sending all that water to the creeks and rivers where there's no opportunity to soak in. Like luckily Medina and Canyon are 2 big reservoirs that can help it soak in, but a lot of our streams and rivers go straight to the Gulf of Mexico and we lose all that water. The Gulf of Mexico is actually experiencing a lot of sediment buildup in the area where on the beach areas, so a lot of issues with that right now. So so there is also rules being passed or regulation being passed preventing homeowners associations from restricting it. So if you're in a homeowners association, you can't prevent rain harvesting from occurring in your neighborhood. Now you can make it difficult, right? They can put like rules on, you have to pass you have to submit your plan to us and we have to review it and we have to like it, and they can do all that, but they can't prevent you from doing it. You can, like in Texas, no homeowners association can stop you from rain harvesting. So some insane restrictions on the type of tank and where you have to place the tank is happening, but they're now trying to like even back, you know, push on that, because that's like, you need to be able to have a tank, you know, on multiple sides of your house. You're not going to take a 3,000 square foot home and get water to come from that end all the way over to that end easily, right? So so anyway, and then urban, like I said, there's regulations requiring rain harvesting. So in San Antonio, if you build a commercial structure, you have to harvest 80% of your stormwater runoff. You have to manage it, whether that's harvested in tanks or whether it's harvested in reservoirs on your property, you have to do that. And 60% of it has to be filtered. So if it's coming off of the roof, your parking lot, all of that, you have to actually provide some filtering through sand or through mechanical filters if it comes off your roof. So that's a great news. They're keeping up with regulations to actually require it. Over the recharge zone, there are some rules that if you're over a recharge zone, Edwards Aquifer anyway, not ours, but on Edwards Aquifer, there's some areas between sort of like Wimberley and San Antonio, that area, like in Clear Springs, is it out there? Bulverde area, that the aquifer is so close to the surface that they require filtering before it can hit there. So like that area, we want to make sure if it comes off of a parking lot where there's oils and brake pad minerals and stuff like that, that it's filtered before it goes into the aquifer. So they're doing some things there. So yeah, these are the only states that like don't want you to harvest water, I think, is the white ones that are up there. Everyone else is like saying, you know, there's incentive ahead of time.
Well, it was, it's illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal in Nevada.
We moved from Las Vegas, so,
They would not let us capture water.
but we did, we just hit it.
Yeah. This way's around, right?
Well, for a while they were, I moved from the Bay Area, not recently, but I was in Nevada before that. But, California and the Bay Area, they weren't allowing
Yeah.
homeowners to.
And they've changed some of that in California, I know specifically because of the mudslide issue and stuff that they've had, yeah. Is you have more events like that, so. And there could be, like, some of these areas, Nevada may be one of them, there could be financial concerns, like the water company is worried that if you're capturing water and using that, you're not
They
paying
did
them.
have the
and-
water police,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they did drive through the neighborhood.
yeah, so there's some of that going on, yeah. So, so what's your opportunity? So really, with 1 inch of water, which we got quite a bit more than that, right? With 1 inch of water off of 1,000 square feet, you can capture, 0.62 gallons. Did I say 0.62?
0.62 gallons
For
for
every
every 1,000 square
square
feet.
I don't know if that math figures out, but it's 620 gallons for every 1,000 square feet. So I should have double checked that if I have my zeros right. That would be like 62 gallons. Anyway.
We'll just.
Yeah, do it for me there.
We'll just do it right
Make
now.
sure.
Okay.
So
So
yes, the math is
0.62 times 1,000.
Okay, cool.
Is 620,
Yeah,
the math
there we
is
go.
right.
So what you want to do is consider your roof. Some people just consider their living square feet, which isn't your roof, right? If you've ever paid to have a roof put on, it's much larger. So your roof footprint, including your porches, those are all an opportunity, and your sheds and your barns, right? So if you really calculate all of your roof space, that's what you can capture off of. So we just put in a 16,000 gallon tank at our house, and I thought it would take us a year to fill it up, right? And it's already full and overflowing. It's ridiculous. We were like concerned with the overflow now. But that's a lot of water, 620 gallons of water. If you look at that, it's what, 80 pounds a gallon?
8 pounds.
8 pounds a
8
gallon.
pounds a
Okay.
gallon.
See, I get my zeros off
Times
today.
8 is, that's almost 5,000 pounds.
5,000 pounds of water right there.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a lot of water. That's a lot of retention you can do. I mean, you can use, you know, just in one rain event, that's enough for your garden for several weeks, right? But you'd be surprised how quickly you can use it up.
Well, and then we have just rain barrels.
Yeah.
We don't have, but even just the morning dew when it's not raining,
Right, yeah,
the morning
Still.
dew keeps our rain barrels filled up.
right. You'd be surprised how much moisture is coming off of your roof, yeah. Absolutely. So here's a couple of calculators where you can actually go and plug in your data and figure out how much opportunity you have. I call it opportunity because opportunity is different than need, right? So you may have an opportunity to catch that much water, but do you want to? So to catch that much water off of a rain event like what we already had, you need like a 30,000 gallon tank, right? That's a lot of money. It costs a lot to install a 30,000 gallon tank plus all the plumbing. So you may not choose to do that, right? That's just your opportunity. The next thing to look at is what's my need. So there's calculators for that. Oh, I think that's down.
Water usage calculator.
Yes. So both of those calculators help you calculate your need. And that's gonna calculate how much you actually use as a household. So you may actually go in there and plug in, I have this many toilets, this many sinks, I have a dishwasher I use, I wash my cars, I have a garden I irrigate. So you're gonna plug all that in and gives
Does
you
it
options.
account for animals too?
Yeah, yes, yeah. And you can put in there, you know, I'm feeding livestock or whatever, or a couple of animals, and then it'll tell you you're probably using so many gallons a week or so many gallons a month. And then you can compare those two numbers. So you might be only using like 500 gallons a week, maybe. Well, that's 2,000 gallons a month. That means if you go for 3 months, that's 6,000 gallons that you need, right? You're already able to catch that in our springtime, April or October rain event. You're able to do that off of a 1,000 square foot home. So you'll have the water that you need. That means you probably, if you're using, what did I just calculate? 3,000 gallons through that drought for that. So if you're using 3,000 gallons through that drought, you may only need a 5,000 gallon tank or a 3,000 gallon tank, you know, to have a little extra. And then if you want that extra fire protection, maybe you want a little bit bigger so you can stockpile some water. But you don't necessarily need to go to the 30,000 gallon tanks, right? You'll never use it. You'll never get through that water. So it's really up to you. You can balance that need and that demand. You don't have to, you know, put in a tank that can capture everything. So keep that in mind. You will have some people who come to your property that say, oh yeah, this is a big house, you need a big tank. No, you could still let some of that water go on the ground, right? You don't have to capture everything. So there's techniques for handling it once it gets to the ground too. So and then there's opportunities just to put in some rain barrels at your gutters, right? And capture a little bit of it. So this helps you figure out, this is by the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service. And I put the links here too, so you can go to this calculator. This calculator does that capturing ability and the demand, and it balances it for you, and it tells you when will your tank be full. And so if, say for instance, I have 1,000 square feet and I have a 2,800 gallon tank, my demand is 1,200 gallons a month, then it'll tell me, based on the rainfall in my area, which I just took the rainfall for last year, which was a lot less, right? This is what's gonna happen to my tank. I'm gonna start in January and I'm gonna, using water, and then, wait, the green one is the rain event, right? So in February, March, April, when we get our rains, that tank is gonna start filling up. And so I'm gonna end up with a full tank, and then when it stops raining, I'm gonna be using it, and then it'll just start filling up again. So it's telling me this purple area is when I'm probably gonna need to use my well, because I'm not catching enough rain, but I do have a big enough tank. So you can help balance, okay, what if I get it, instead of a 2,800 gallon tank, I put in a 5,000 gallon tank, and then you'll see that purple line go away. And then you know your tank is big enough for what your usage is. So it's a bit, if you want to get into the science and start analyzing that usage and capturability, you can do that with the spreadsheet. So you can download this and just crunch the numbers you got. Or you can just do like what I did, and I just threw a big enough tank I could afford and threw it out there and started catching rain, right?
Like us.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you'll have to, I mean, at the time, we could only afford small tanks, right? Because we had just moved here. So that's my advice, is to start small. So if you're looking for just enough water to do water for your garden or maybe your outdoor animals, you can start small. You can start capturing rain with a very small thing. This is a good system. These IBC totes are pretty cheap. This is just those square totes that you can catch rain off. You'd be surprised how quickly you'll fill one of those up. It's almost 300 gallons, 250 to 300 gallons in each of those. They'll fill up like that. And so you can string together a few of them to handle it more. This is one of those tanks that you put in the back of a bed of a pickup truck, you know. One of those was on our property when we moved in. So the thing you want to do with these tanks, since they are clear, the sun will get at them and you'll get some algae, build up. If you want to fertilize your garden though, that's great. Like, let the algae go. That's beneficial, like microbes and minerals, or what am I thinking?
Bacteria.
Vitamins, vitamins and bacteria, that's all good. The problem with it is it could clog your lines.
Yeah.
So, unless you have like a big, these I think have big, they're like 2 inch, 1.5 inch, then it might not clog that. But if you have a small hose, you're trying to run that through, you could clog your lines. So most people will take these tanks and either cover it or they'll paint them. So that's why you'll see some tanks painted. And then you can just, this is just a little trash can that I have a rain chain off of, and that captures it in the trash can, and I use that also for some plants that I have there. And then there's a big shed here that I just added a gutter, and then there's just a pipe going down into that tank. So you can set up some pretty simple, straightforward systems. They don't have to get complex, at least for, you know, your small amount of water, and it goes quickly. So
But you have to use that more for the animals though, because you don't have any filter.
correct, yes.
Okay.
Yep, so this would be for, and I'm gonna hit that too, all the different filter systems that you wanna use. This one just, this is no filter whatsoever, it's just going straight into that tank. So if there's any leaves or debris on this roof, it could get in there.
Yeah.
So, now there might be, on the top, there might be a little mesh net that's trying to keep it from going in. Some people will put those on. You were gonna say something?
I like your goat.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So this is a bit of a bigger system. This is like the next step up, still just for animals, but these are 1,700 gallon tanks. This is a stalls, and that's a barn, a small barn over there. So there's, each of them gets their own pipe going in from each building, and then you'll see this is an overflow here.
Yeah.
These are connected at the bottom with a hose, so it balances these two. There's probably more water coming off of our stalls because that's a bigger building. And then by connecting these two together with a hose at the bottom, the water level will balance out. And then it'll always kind of stay even.
Now, does algae grow in those green ones like that?
No, in fact, you'll see like at the top here, there's just a basket that helps keep some of the big leaves and stuff like that out. And there's really not enough sunlight going in there to like, for algae to grow.
Are those double wall?
They're very thick. I don't know if you, there's not actually 2 walls, but it's like over 1.25 inches, 1.5 inch thick plastic. Really super thick. These with the stripes, I think are warranted for like 15, 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So these are different brands. This is the brand that you'll get at Tank Depot out of Baine. Is it Depot or Tanks a Lot? Tanks a Lot. Takes a lot, yeah. Tank Depot is in San Antonio. You also can get them there. Yeah, both places. So yeah, that's a step up.
When you daisy chain them together?
Yes.
Where they equalize?
Yes.
Each one needs some kind of air vent, right, to make sure they stay equalized?
There is, this basket really lets air in there.
But like the IBC tanks have a cap.
Right, yeah.
So you gotta replace that with some kind of vent?
Usually this is the same thing. Up here, they're, usually as water runs in, it's not creating a vacuum.
But you need one in each tank that you've connected together.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah, so it depends on how you connect in your pipe.
Okay.
So if your pipe is just draining into a hole, then yeah, there's no vacuum created, yeah. But, oh, I see what you're asking. So we have that, yes, we have that problem when we try to drain the lines. So when we try to drain the lines when a freeze event is coming, you do have to like you either have to unplug those two that are balancing it, or you have to have a valve in between that lets the air in that line. So there is a little bit of like, yeah.
Okay.
Right, but if you just daisy chain these, like we have them daisy chained just with a hose, there's enough, the air coming in from the top is letting it balance on its own, yeah. So, yep, so that's the second, this is like the big tanks that you might see on people's property, and I wanted to talk a little bit about foundations at this point. The recommendation is no longer to put a concrete foundation. Yay! Isn't that nice? It's like cheaper for us. You can do what they recommend is, if you put in concrete, you can either just use the CMU blocks here, or you can put in a concrete footer that this sits on. That footer doesn't have to be a slab, because slabs tend to be prone to cracking if you have a full slab. So that slab cracking could actually cause it to tip, or to cause like something to, because inside these is a plastic liner. So there is a type that is a full either wood or metal, and it doesn't have a plastic liner. Those are even more expensive. But you still could have like that uneven foundation then, footer, and it could cause your tank to fail. So they are now recommending 4 to 5 inches of sand. And sand is better than gravel or pea gravel, because gravel or pea gravel could have some pieces in it that have a sharp edge, and eventually might work their way up and could puncture your plastic or cause it to fail. So they're now recommending everything be on sand, and then you just want to make sure that you put some sort of, I even have just boulders around one of my tanks, and it keeps that sand in. helps the sand from eroding. So the big thing you wanna have also is this overflow. So you see how the overflow is extending outside of the sand? So you don't want a tank, all that water on the tank to be flowing down, it's gonna hit that sand, and then it could like wash out your sand. So, you wanna have an overflow also, because these tanks will flow over, especially if you have the smaller ones. So on this one, we put a footer of, landscape timbers, and, this is crushed granite. So I have to be really careful because we use crushed granite in this area. There was a lot of topsoil in this area to make sure there weren't any big pieces or sharp pieces, but probably would have been better to do sand if we could have. But that even works. These are very stable.
Some that had it like on wood shavings.
Yeah, I would be maybe concerned about how deep that is because the weight of the water, if the shavings for some reason aren't, now you could be seeing wood shavings around it, and that will help that erosion issue. So they may have put wood shavings just around the outside. So yeah, once you have their foundation, if you wanna make sure that that sand doesn't wash out, wood shavings or bigger rock around it on top of that sand.
But not under it.
Right, not under it would be like, I'd be a little worried that that would not be stable, yeah, if possible. Now, if you have a smaller tank, yeah, you know, that one's gonna be fine. Some people like to elevate these on a platform so that, there's more gravity, so that that water comes out faster. You just wanna make sure, remember, 8 pounds a gallon, right? 8 pounds a gallon.
Yeah.
8
No.
pounds a gallon. Yeah.
Yes.
8 pounds per gallon.
Yeah,
Figure out your amount of gallons in a 300-gallon tank that's full.
2,400.
2,400 pounds. Like that platform has to be pretty darn secure.
Yeah.
So that's why we use concrete blocks for ours. So yeah, it has to be a very good foundation, or if you're raising that platform for it to be stable. So yeah. So these are the components. You have your gutter up here. Your gutter can have a screen on top if you want. You basically have a pipe coming down. Your pipe is gonna go into your tank. Your tank is gonna fill up, and then you wanna have your overflow for after your tank fills up, like it's gonna overflow. Like I've had so many times where I've put in a tank and was like, put in the overflow next week. And then like we get a rain and I'm like, oh, my foundation's washing out. So make sure that you put the overflow on right away, and then you're gonna be taking water out from the bottom. So sometimes there are systems where you, well, I'm gonna show that next, but we'll talk about this too. This is also called a first flush, and that will take the first several gallons off of your roof. So if you have squirrels playing up there and doing all their doo-doo and your birds and stuff, like it will take that first several gallons and it'll put it in here. That's the dirtiest water. And all that dust and stuff that collects on our roofs after a long time, it'll collect in here. That's the dirtiest water. It'll keep it from going in here. So that's called your first flush system because it
So
takes.
that holds a couple of gallons?
Yeah.
And then after that it fills and then the water just diverts into the tank?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it'll fill up to here. Now, some of them have a little ball there to keep it really from, but you don't have to have that whole fancy ball system. You can just put a T there and the water itself. Now you may get a few leaves that float to the top, but the sediment's gonna float to the bottom. The heavier stuff is gonna float down.
That's really yummy for gardens too.
Yeah, right, yeah. So that first flush, also can be put there in that system midway. So, this next one, you'll see on this drawing that, and this you'll see a lot of, you'll see the tank is actually like a good 30, 40, 50 feet away, right? This is called, the other one that I showed you is called a dry system. The water's actually coming here and it's flowing directly into the tank. So when the rain stops, there's gonna be no water in that pipe. Now there will be water in here, you have to empty, but there's gonna be no water in here, so it's called a dry system. But this system, what happens is it goes, the water collects and it goes underground. And you can make that go underground for quite a ways, you know, if you wanna put your tank a long, you know, distance away from your house, say your garden and your animals are like 50 feet away. You can take that pipe and bury it in the ground all the way over there. And then the gravity of the water will actually push it up and into that tank. So this and this have to be like basically 1.5 feet. for that to work, right?
Oh.
So you wanna be 1.5 feet down, and then that water will push in and drop in, and then it'll level out. So this is called a wet system, because that will always stay wet, right? You have to be careful of a wet system, because if we have a freeze event that happens, the pipe right here could break because it's exposed to the, yeah. Yep, and the pipe right here could freeze, right? So, usually there's like, an opening here and an opening here. This is where you were talking about the air thing, right? You can open these up and it'll drain out. So you wanna, before your freeze comes, you wanna get that drained out.
This is there, what did you call that?
The elevation difference needs to be 1.5 feet.
Yes.
Half.
1.5 feet is best. You can get away with a little less, so you just have to test it and see if you can get it done. Because some of these tanks are about 7.5 feet tall, and if your eave where your gutter is at like about 8.5, 9 feet, you're getting really close to that, right? So you wanna put your tank downhill maybe a little bit to try to get that difference, yeah.
How deep would you put that, pipe in the ground, like 6 inches, 8
No,
inches?
the freeze line where we live is 10 inches, so you need to go at least 12 inches down.
Yeah, so
To be
that,
a little bit thermal.
it really depends on where you live and if you have a freeze line like that. I would say burying it at all is a great thing. Like if it's exposed, it's totally exposed to the elements. Bury it at least 6 to 8 inches. If you have an area where you're driving over it, like, you know, you're gonna want it 1.5 feet down, or if you have an area that's even more, you're on a hillside where the wind is coming through there and you're gonna get freezing potentially. So try to get it a little deeper if you can. So, yeah, so this is cost. I mentioned cost here. Your tanks run about $1 to $1.50 a gallon, depending on how big of a tank you get, and if you're buying it new. Right now, everything used on Facebook Marketplace, be careful. They're listing things for the same price as what you can go buy a new one for. So check Home Depot. Home Depot's are running a little bit better, more reasonable now, but they're the thin walled ones. So they're thinner wall. They're not the thick 1.5 inch ones, right? And their warranty is only like 10 years. So, but it's fine if you're just gonna use it for plants and stuff and you just need a quick solution. So those are all things to look into. Facebook Marketplace though, like you'll see a lot of used ones, or some of the other like websites where you can get used things. But yeah, definitely double check your comparison, because they're not necessarily selling them for a deal. You also want to be careful. Sometimes they'll list them and they've been using them as gray water tanks. So it makes sure that if you get those, you know, you can use those for animals and plants perfectly fine, but not for your human consumption if you want to connect it up to your house. Yeah. So you're looking at twice that if you're going to actually have someone come and install it and add filters for you. So just take the cost of your tank and double it for all that extra stuff that you're gonna have to put in if you wanna use it for human consumption. Of course, if it's for animals, like, you don't need all those extra filters and pumps, right? They don't need the pressure. You can just do it with gravity fed feeders and stuff. Do you guys, the animal feeders that have the little floats in it, those work perfectly fine. As long as that feeder is below the bottom of the tank or the top of the water level, it'll flow in there just through gravity, and those work perfectly fine. I have all my troughs for my horses connected that way. Of course, I can't put the trough uphill, right? Because as soon as that float gets to the level of the water, then it stops working. So yeah, so those work just fine. You don't need a pump if you're going to use an automatic water trough. So filters. Filters, basically they start at this end and they go to that end. Cost and what you need them for. So if you're just like gonna set up a tank for your plants, you don't even have to do a leaf diverter, but you might wanna do a leaf diverter to try to avoid the clogging lines like I mentioned before. So there's 2 different kinds of leaf diverters. You can just divert it with the gutter things, right? Or there's this little contraption that you can put in line to your downspout. So the leaves hit this little screen and they fall off that screen, and then the water keeps going. So you get water and no leaves. This next one is what I was talking about with first flushes. So the first flush has this tube that comes down, and the suggestion is a gallon of water for every 100 square feet that you're collecting off of. So if you can imagine 1,000 square foot of roof, then you probably want to catch 10 gallons. So that means this pipe could be pretty big, or you could have multiple of them right at each downspout. And this will catch all of your big sediments, your feces, your, you know, if a cat eats an animal and leaves a wing up there, you know, or something like that, you know, it's gonna catch the stuff that this doesn't catch, but it's bacteria, it's catching some of the big stuff you don't want in your tank. This next one is, this gets into human consumption. So if you wanna use, now, or if you really have sensitive animals. Some people are like, I'm gonna filter for my animals too. I'm like, awesome, they're gonna be happy. Yeah, you know, they don't have to deal with any. So you have the spin down, which captures sediment. And then you have this little like big blue, they call them big blue filters. That's gonna be your carbon filters and things that catches even smaller sediment, super, super small sediment, right? And so there's a system of putting these spin down filters, maybe one or two, and then the big blues, one or two of those. And you'll get your sediments and your carbon filters. You're getting really small microbial one. And then you don't want to like ignore bacteria. Bacteria can get past these, so your UV lights will kill your bacteria. So UV is, that light will just burn the bacteria and kill it. And there's different sizes of those UV lights. So the more water coming through faster, like if your demand is faster, you have 5 people in your house and everyone's running sinks and showers at the same time, then you want to have a bigger UV light because that water's going to be flowing through there fast, right? So, but if you have a small cabin and 1 or 2 people, then you know you can get away with a smaller one. So,
How does the spin down work?
the spin down, it's funny. It spins, the centrifugal force of the water spins through there, and it makes any sediment like drop to the bottom,
Oh, okay.
or it goes through like there's a little filter in there, or it'll get stuck in that filter.
And then where does the UV light get installed into this system?
That's the very last thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
I'll
you
wait.
want it to get through all these things. Oh no, not, you want the water to get through all of these and filter as much out as possible before it gets to the UV light.
And the UV light's in the tank.
No, all of this is outside of your tank.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
this is all, like, if you have a pump house, the tank, you're pulling the water from your tank. Well, actually, it probably sits right here, right? The tank is here. And then you're pulling water out of your tank to go into your house, and you're getting it through this filter, and then you're getting it through the UV light, so you probably have these sitting in your pump house after your tank. That's a good distinction.
Okay,
So your tank is probably sitting right here in those pipes. Yeah.
okay.
Get the big stuff out first, and then get the little tiny stuff out after it's, after you've stored it and you're pulling it from the tank storage.
Okay.
So that's a little bit trickier to set up because once you get into your pump house, you're really dealing with your pump and your filters and getting it through those lines. So once you get to that point, if you want to use it on your house, that's the point probably to start getting some reference material off online or calling someone in to do that plumbing. Some plumbers will know rain harvesting systems, but not all of them know that yet. There are some who are starting to learn it though in our area. So right now there's this weird thing where there's rain harvesting people who know some plumbing, and then there's plumbers who know some like not as many who know rain harvesting, right? Because there's some gutter people who don't know rain harvesting. We've run into that too. So once you start rain harvesting, you tend to be the person in the middle who knows kind of all those things. But some of the rain harvesting people are like learning the whole thing. Like they can come in and get you a system for the whole beginning to end. And they'll bring in different subs for the different things. Like they may bring in a plumber and a gutter guy to help with your roof stuff. The other filter I always neglect to talk about is your roof itself. Your roof material, if it's metal, that's the best thing to harvest off of. So if you have a metal, concrete tiles, clay tiles, they tend to soak in a little bit of the microbial things, but they're pretty good to rain harvest off of also. Asphalt shingles are difficult. They're probably the worst because you get a lot of toxic, like sort of like that asphalt off of the shingles and the little pebbles that are ending up in your system. So if you do have asphalt shingles, you can use it for plants all day. Your plants are getting it anyway, right? And you can even install like a better filter between these that maybe is some mesh screening that helps get some of the bigger pebbles off. And your plants, you know, they get runoff from your house anyway, so it's fine. Some people don't like to garden with the asphalt shingle runoff because they are concerned that there could still be some toxins from those shingles go in, right? And that's possible, but when it gets to animals, you know, then I'm concerned. It depends on your shingles, right? As to, you know, if they're lower quality that's degrading more quickly, or they're older, it could, you know, I don't know, there could be more runoff. Some people said that if they're brand new shingles, you also don't wanna have it on there because there's more like immediate runoff of some of those little pebbles coming off. So, you know, asphalt kind of gets difficult. So if you have a metal roof or something else, that's really the best circumstance. That's your first line of defense for filtering. So this is someone who just installed a big tank for us, one of those big metal tanks, Sky Wells. He's out of Hondo. He just did that. I'm just trying to give you people resources. Tanks a Lot is out of Baine. They have great tanks to use. They also have all the plumbing, all of the filters, and the pumps that you might want. So Tanks a Lot is a great resource. They tend to have like the whole setup for you. Tank Depot in San Antonio, it's hit or miss with getting all of the little components. So it depends on when you're there, and it's been a while since I've been there, so it could be better. But if there's lots of,
You need to check out American Well Water down here.
there you go, they're starting to,
They are doing ours.
okay, great, yeah,
We have a 3,000-gallon tank.
awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, so definitely, I think it would be great if we start collecting more information about who's doing these systems. There's starting to be more and more companies that are starting to pick it up, especially well companies. They're realizing that it's a whole, I think that's who we used, and when we put in our well, they were like, we don't do that yet. And I said, it'd be a good idea for you to start doing that, like as an income source. So that's great to hear.
American Water Well Services.
Yeah.
And the tank we have is
173.
3,000 gallons, and it has a built-in pressure pump on the tank.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I've not heard of that one yet. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to go check that out. Yeah. So there's more resources now. Like, just go out there and look. There's more people starting to do it here, so that's great.
Here's a question.
Uh-huh.
Is that Skywell's a person or is that?
That is a company out of Hondo.
Oh, okay.
They do our area. Good young guy that owns the company. He's been doing it for like 6 years now, and his name's Chase. And so you'll actually talk. He's like the guy, the owner. Does all the systems himself. Small company. So yeah. Yeah, so that's some resources. Yeah, definitely talk to other people, and that's all I know. Questions? So, questions, yeah.
So we have a big bluff on the back of our property. I've been trying to figure out how to collect water off of, because in these big rain events,
Yeah.
we get like a river running down it into our pastures. It swells. They're like a series of swells. They feed into each other.
Yeah.
To collect and hold it. And then we could plant on the upward side and on the mound so it absorbs that water.
Yes.
Do I still need to have a final drain off on the bottom swell to
You
take
can.
care of any overflow?
Right, yes, yes. Especially if you have an event like we just had. So you might get to a point where your basins or your swells and your berms are big enough to where you're catching all that rain. But then if you get a 100-year flood, it'll wash over them. And it could erode that berm.
Okay.
So we usually planned in, when we were designing systems like that, we always planned in an overflow where if it gets to about like 2/3 of your berm, you really want an exit strategy for that water so that it doesn't
So
wash over
what
your
if I
berm.
built a pond at the bottom of it to try to catch
All
of
like
that?
all of the overflow, that'd be awesome, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
You'll
you.
catch most of it, yeah.
I have a question. So
So in one of your earlier slides, it talked about the incentives and other things that, that counties or cities or whatever have. And so
Yeah.
I was talking to Dave Mock, I think at one of the Pipe Creek talks things, and saying, you know, right now, we're so concerned about the number of pipes that are going to the ground with all of the new development and everything.
Right.
And drawing down the aquifer and people's wells running dry and all of that. And I asked him, I said, well, you know, why wouldn't we have some sort of a, abatement for taxes or whatever?
No.
And he said, it would be a great idea. I said, well, have you brought it to the county commissioners,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to ask them to put something in that says, hey, if you don't, build a well, like Mike Easterly and Karen,
Right.
they have all water harvesting. They don't have a well on their property
Yeah.
off
They
of Bear
don't.
Springs Road.
Yeah, I have a
No,
couple of friends that are that way.
no, they are totally water free. There's another guy that, there was a land management, program by the Plateau Wildlife and Land Management, people out of Mansfield Park back in 2024. And they had a guy there who had a ranch out, side of Mason. And he lives up on a hill, and everybody said, I don't know why you bought that property, you can't get a well. And he said, we don't need a well.
No,
And
we don't
he had gutters on a little bitty well house thing.
Yeah.
He had gutters on it because it
Yeah.
was feeding all the animals,
Yeah.
right, watering all the animals.
Right.
And he didn't have a well on that property
Mhm.
as well. So back to my question, do you know of any other counties or cities that have offered that kind of incentive for
I-
people instead of drilling a well, which is
Right.
very expensive
Yep.
now,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yes.
It's very expensive,
Mhm.
and so the amount of money that you would spend putting in a well versus putting in a water catchment system
Right.
might be kind of
Absolutely.
better.
Half price for water catchment.
That's what I'm thinking. I just wonder if there's any other counties that have done that.
So I know Texas, the Texas state has grants right now available for installing systems in impoverished areas. So these companies who can go in and install a system can apply for a grant and do that. And I think it would be an awesome opportunity for homesteaders who have an old homestead, a shallower well that might be dry. It would be a great opportunity to start applying for these grants and give it available to those maybe who aren't in an income position to be able to do their own well again or to re-drill or something like that. There's that available. I do know that there's grants from Texas. And when I talked to, a couple of years ago, I talked to someone who is on the Bandera board or running for board, and the water quality in the city water is, I mean, they're under boil orders quite a bit. And so that's an interest to them. It's just, you know, I think it would be great. It just needs to have people who are educated and can start, you know, getting that moving forward. Yeah, to be part of the city.
Is there anything at the federal level, and let me preface that by saying, when we got our solar panels, the government gave us a discount on our taxes for putting in the solar panels, and that was the IRS, so
Right.
is there anything at
The
the federal?
USDA. The USDA has grants for farms and homesteads for a lot of different things, from rain catchment to farm equipment to building barns, so look there.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different grants, and you just gotta see if you qualify.
I do know that Texas also has tax-free. So there's a form online, if you're installing a rain harvesting system, all of it's tax-free. So that's the incentive that tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Home Depot is just starting to learn about it, because you have to go there and say, this is tax-free, don't charge me. And they'll say, oh, what is your farm number? You don't need that. It's not under the farm rules, it's a different rule. So there's a form you print off, and Home Depot can print it off for you, you fill it out, and then Home Depot keeps it, and then they show why they didn't collect taxes on that merchandise.
Wow.
So anything, yeah, all of your
Yeah.
PVC pipes, all of your, tanks, all of your, all of that is tax-free right now.
Yeah, the Department of Agriculture has different stuff like that too.
Great.
And also additional grants for farms and homesteads.
Awesome, yeah.
You just gotta hunt.
Yeah. And it's changing all the time. So I go out there every 6 months and I look at those you know, the ones that, the grants that they're offering, and I'm just shocked at how much they're changing every 6 months, the different grants that they're offering, so.
They're not, the last time I checked, now it's been a few months, the last time I checked, they're not offering 100% grants, they're only covering up to like 90%. So you still have to come out of pocket
With a little bit.
for a
yeah.
little bit of it. It's not like it was, you know, 15, 20 years ago where it was 100%, they would cover everything. Now it's, they'll only cover up to 75 or 90%.
Well, still, that's a lot.
That's still a big discount,
Yeah.
yeah.
For sure, yeah. Questions? So harvest rain.
Harvest rain.
Okay.
Great.
So
Next time my will breaks, I'm gonna harvest rain.
I guess afterwards, if anyone wants to go out and look at it, you can see one in person and kind of like get a feel for.
has everyone got a ticket?
Jenny, the one out there is mainly set up for gardens.
the late
Yeah.
I got off.
No, it has the first flush.
You need to.
It does, it has the leaf catchment, and then it goes in, and then there's the first flush going into the tank, and then there's a filter on top of the tank too. I love that.
So you could use it for.
Yes. Yeah, they can plumb it in.
What did it say? Rick, Rick, through that church, Dave, 100% water.
Okay, so I just want to remind,
Right now, I'm not actually doing it for my
And that's all they use for.
I was just going to remind everybody, next month,
Yeah, well, I don't know where the thin red bulb, sorry, go ahead.
I was just to remind everybody, next month, we're gonna talk Nancy propagation, seeds, stem cutting, succulents, and it's gonna be Nancy Mills, and she's with the Bear County Master Gardeners. And so she's gonna kind of teach us a bunch of stuff about that. We're also, gonna be looking for our September plant sale is coming up. And we're gonna be looking for people to make donations to help with that. And
Plant
so
donations, plant donations.
And so,
Please donate
in our
plants.
next, if you're on our Garden Club newsletter, we'll be sending out an email asking if folks are planning on bringing stuff for that. We're just trying to get some idea of what's coming. Because a lot of people look for vegetables, so we'll be looking for cold weather vegetables, right, because it's the fall. And just other items that we can use. And again, this is not a sale, this is by adoption. We call it a plant adoption because due to laws, you can only have so many fundraisers, and we've already had our one for the year. So this will be, come, get some stuff, and donate what you feel led to donate, right? So just wanted to remind folks about that, and then we're gonna make the drawing. Everybody got their ticket, so Krista, have Jerry or somebody make a drawing.
Oh, she's gonna make me draw.
Oh, she's gonna make you draw.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, she gotta put on her glasses.
181.
181. Oh.
Yeah.
It's a baby wind chime, yay! Oh, isn't that cute?
They're in his garage.
Thank you.
So his filter, he has a tank up on the hill.
Okay, there's a second drawing. There's another drawing.
So his office house.
Number 176.
176. Robert! Right.
And then there's a
Hey,
third
I'll
one.
give it to my daughter.
There's a third
Okay,
one.
one more. Is it this beautiful farmer's market?
Yes, that's so cute.
That's cute.
If I call my own number, I'll put it back.
Don't call my number.
Those are real
I'm
flowers.
gonna call your number.
Don't call my number.
Those are real.
183.
That's my number.
Okay.
Okay, this is why I can't take these. They're from my garden, so someone else has to take them.
Pick another number. I knew that was gonna happen.
That's cute.
189.
All right, there's a little secret in these flowers. I want you to put your little nose on the tiny yellow one. It's a quiz. What does it smell like?
Oh,
It's familiar.
yeah, it's familiar.
It's familiar.
I can't
Take another
identify.
smell. One more.
Ooh, now I wanna
And
smell.
now we can pass it around.
Yeah, that's I wanna smell.
The small yellow flowers in here is a chocolate daisy.
Oh.
They do smell like chocolate.
wow.
Yeah.
Fun fact, they only smell like chocolate in the morning. By the heat of day, they stop smelling and don't smell again until the next day. So if anyone's interested, take a sniff.
That's
It's a very fun flower.
You just don't like it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
I did not give everyone the option, if you ever need help, like, I'll come to your home and help you, you just give me a call, like, I just like meeting neighbors, so don't feel like you have to, like, I'm not doing this for money right now.
I'm gonna keep that in mind. Yes, yes.
Sure, yeah, I'm right here in Pine Creek, I'm one of your neighbors.